Hello, everyone. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. I hope you are having a great Tuesday. Anyway, we are going to have a good debate this afternoon. Me and Westhamonline to my right. And we're going to discuss Eddie Nketiah and Ollie Watkins. And which one would you rather have? Anyway, before I get started, Westhamonline, how are you doing today, son?
I'm doing well, to be fair. How are you doing?
All good, mate. Before we get started, talk to me about last night's awards. All the right awards for you?
Yeah, I think most of them were fair. Um, the only one that could be debated another way, in my opinion, was the goal of the season. Some people went Creswell. I thought Lanzini personally
Mm.
deserved it. But yeah, I can see why some people went with Creswell against Everton as well. But I think all in all, they were all probably awarded to the right person. Maybe young player as well. I thought Ashby could have won that one, but apart from that, not the young player, the award that Sonny Perkins won, the Dylan Tom
Mm.
Wright Award.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, it was given to good people, I think.
Nah, that's fair enough, mate. Declan is world class. I think Bowen was right up there with a shout. I think if Bowen would have started earlier in the season and carried it on all the way through, I think Bowen would have just pipped Declan. But Declan, rightfully so, won it. Before we get into our debate about Eddie and Ollie, give me a quick thought on Mark Noble last night, mate. That was quite an emotional speech he done.
Well, yeah, it was. From what I've seen of the speech, it was quite pretty much straight away he was crying, which I think
Mm.
just it's all the heightened emotion of how I think he realises how soon it's going to end. And on Sunday, I don't know if he'll have any more tears left to cry, but to be honest, it is really sad. I'm excited to see what he says on Sunday. I'm excited to see the reception he gets because I think it'll be really good. But yeah, I think it just shows how much he cares, and I think we're really, really going to miss him.
Mm.
Not just the fans. I think that this could really affect us because I think sometimes when we're struggling in games, he's the one in the dressing room who gets everyone going again. He's the one who people look at and think, well, if Mark cares that much, I better care.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's going to be a huge loss, despite his obvious decline footballing wise because of his age. He's still a big player.
Mm. I agree. I agree. It could go one or two ways. We could either have a great season next year, and Mark's watching it from the sidelines or in the stands, or it could go the other way. I totally agree, though. Mark's been an absolute inspiration to a lot of young West Ham fans, to a lot of young West Ham footballers. And I like Mark's morals, mate. He's got this old school mentality, which in the modern day football is hard to come across. There's a lot of egos in
Yeah,
football nowadays, and with Mark, he's very old school. Like you look after your pleases and your thank yous, and the word I look for is respect. He's got a lot of respect. So yeah, fair play. Anyway, let's get into it, West Ham Online. I thought you're the perfect person to bring on. You are on the side of Eddie, and I'm on the side of Ollie.
yeah.
Let's start off with Ollie Watkins, West Ham Online. I like this kid. I liked him when he was at Brentford, and he's obviously gone to Villa. He scored 10 goals, got one assist this season in the Prem. What do you think of him as a footballer, first off?
I think he's a very good forward. I think he's really complete. But to be honest, last season I thought he was excellent. This season, I think he has a bit like Mikel, really. He's been a bit unimpressive in parts of the season. He's underachieved a little bit. He went on a long run without scoring. Lately, he seems to have got his mojo back a little bit. But to be honest, I like him. I like what he's got. But he has been a bit. I do think he's underachieved this season. And as much as I think he's a decent footballer, I think 10 goals, one assist. I think he'll be thinking in himself. I've declined compared to last season.
Mm.
That's not really good enough. And it could go one of two ways with him. He could go on and become a very good forward because he's got all the attributes to be, or he could just become a player who scores 10 goals, 9 goals a season. And I think he'll want more than that.
Mm. I like Ollie Watkins, mate. I remember watching the famous BMW of Brentford many years ago with Watkins, Ben Rama, and Mbeumo. And I must
Yeah,
admit, when you look at the three players now, Benny's with us, obviously, Ollie's there, and Mbeumo, I think, is a great player, mate, for Brentford.
yeah,
I
he
really
is.
do.
He's really good. Yeah.
And I feel that if we was to sign this man, I think it's a new dynamic. I think West Ham will look to play the ball on the ground instead of playing long balls and like trying to hoof it up and hold it up sort of play. Because I think Ollie Watkins is that type of player who can hold the ball up well, but he can also run in behind. Obviously, you're on the side of Eddie. Now, for me, I look at Eddie and I just think he's not a first choice for me at West Ham. But you think differently, mate. Take it away.
Mm. Well, as people on Twitter will know, I think you might know this as well. When Eddie had 0 goals this season, I was saying, you know what? He's one of those players who I've watched a lot of. I actually think he's going to go in a positive direction. I actually think he has what it takes, but it just hasn't quite happened for him yet. I've watched him a lot for England under-21s as well, and obviously he's their all-time top scorer. And I think his position in the box is so good that it's impossible for him to not get goals. Eventually, the goals will come because you can't position yourself as well as Eddie does, and not get goals basically.
Right.
And I think his overall play since he's come into the team lately has impressed me as well. I thought against us, he was their live wire in the second half. Um, Arsenal didn't quite have the players they needed in that West Ham game to dominate the possession. And what Eddie
Right.
did that Lacazette wouldn't be able to do was hold the width, running behind, and basically stretch our defence. And when you're as good in front of goal as Eddie is, and what he will prove to people that he is over the next few years, I think it's a no-brainer to get him in. I really do think he's a top finisher, and I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. And I think Mikel knows that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he stays at Arsenal. But yeah, I am a big fan of Eddie Nketiah.
I just don't see it, mate. I really, really don't. I think he's a good player, but he's a good low end player of the Premier League for me.
Mm.
Right, I think in Crystal Palace or Brentford, I think that would suit him down to the ground. I've always said if Ivan Toney ever left Brentford this summer, Eddie Nketiah goes to Brentford for me. That's a no. To me, that's a no-brainer. He could be the big fish in the small pond. I think if he was to play for West Ham United Football Club, is he going to score you 15 goals, 20 goals a season? I just don't see it. Like, and I know Antonio don't score 10 goals. Like, Antonio scores 10 goals, yeah, and I think his highest mark is like 12 or 14 or something, right? But you got to look at it that we're a Europa League side, we're a European side now. Eddie's not a sort of player that West Ham should be going after when there should be better quality players that West Ham should be going after. That makes sense. West Ham should be looking at your Jonathan Davids and people like that. We're a big club. And to me, I feel it's a cheap signing from West Ham. West Ham, it's like, oh, if we can get this geezer on a free transfer, we haven't got to pay out 50 million or 40 million for a striker. Which, from a business aspect, West Ham Online, it's good, isn't it? Let's be honest. But
Yeah.
from a sort of West Ham striker first choice, I just don't see him. I just don't feel like what you feel on that. What do you think,
Yeah.
mate?
Well, yeah, I can see why you think that. I think a lot of people don't like Eddie, and for me, I think when he came into Arsenal a couple of years ago, he was very weak, and even then, I wasn't a big fan of his overall game a couple of years ago. But what he's always had is incredible instincts in the box, and when a striker has that, and he's developed physically now, he stretches play. When a striker has that instinct in the box, I think it's impossible for them in a decent side to fail, as long as they develop their game slightly, like Eddie has done. And I think finishing wise, I don't know whether we should get him as first choice, but if you need a goal, Eddie Nketiah he really is gonna prove people that he's gonna be a tremendous scorer in the Premier League.
But I think that's the problem. He wants to go to a club where he is going to be first choice. And if someone said to me right now, who would you rather have up front next season, Antonio or Eddie Nketiah? I'd have Antonio. You see what I'm saying there? And I look at it like this. I just feel that Antonio, you have to go another step up. Now, if West Ham want to make a statement, the man for me that I've always said is Ivan Toney. He sits in Brentford. He's ideal. He brings people into play. He holds the ball up well, scores goals, scores penalties. He's your perfect striker, really, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
it all goes back to money and the ownership.
Well, yeah, I'm a big Tony fan. I think his overall game is fantastic. I put a tweet out yesterday, which had a lot of Brentford fans coming at me yesterday because I suggested signing him. I think his overall play is good. I think he's a good hold-up player. I think he's got good positioning in the box as well. His range of finishing is ridiculous, and when you have that, it's impossible to fail. I think it's the way I look at strikers. I don't care what level they're playing at. If they can show that they can score a range of different goals from different angles and have that instinct in the box, then I think they're always destined to succeed. Because with Eddie as well, what I saw a couple of years ago and what I've been saying for years before he's finally got his chance this year is that he has that instinct. And his two goals against Leeds in Arsenal's last match personified that for me. Meslier takes a bad touch. Eddie sees it straight away and nicks it off him and scores.
But can you
Second
understand?
goal.
The only thing I can't understand though with Arsenal, sorry to butt in, mate, but the only thing I can't understand is why would Arsenal want to let this geezer go?
Yeah.
Like, I know, can you see what I'm getting at? Like, I know he's running his contract there, and I understand that. But if this man was the real deal, Arsenal would have tied this man down, surely.
Yeah, I agree. I think the positive when it comes to that, and I do agree with what you're saying, even since December, Mikel's been saying, to be honest, Eddie deserves a lot more chances than he's got. He's one of the best trainers every day. And I saw a thread on it, and I think the reason why Lacazette was getting the game time over Eddie was because when they're chasing top four in such a young squad, he was that captain and that bit of experience. But I think it was actually a mistake from Mikel, and I'm a huge fan of Arteta, but I think it was a mistake playing Lacazette, because I think Eddie has the personality to take games by the scruff of the neck, despite him being young, and turn it on its head. And he said in a podcast before he got this run of games as well, Eddie, he said, I'm fine with fans criticising me, but I'm coming off the bench for 20, 30 minutes. I'm not getting a chance. If I played 4 games in a row and didn't score, fine, criticise me. But I don't think I've had a chance in my career yet to warrant the hate.
So it's an interesting one with that, because obviously he's getting his chance at Arsenal and he has scored some goals. But Arsenal, if Arsenal get top 4, Arsenal look at Eddie Nketiah as not good enough. He's like, and that's a major thing. Like when West Ham, if we finish, say, 6th, can we really see Eddie Nketiah leading the line next year for West Ham United? Because for me personally, Antonio's been a great servant to West Ham, but he shouldn't be first choice next year. He should be someone who's coming in younger, and bringing Antonio in as either a winger or off the bench as an impact sub.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Listen, people will look at that different and say, well, he can't be disrespectful to Antonio, but Antonio scored 9 goals this year? I think it is in the Premier League. Like as he's set first goal in the Prem on Sunday since January the 1st. Like that's not exactly prolific if you want to be fighting for honours of some sort.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's poor. That's really poor. Yeah.
So for me, like I look at it like whoever we do bring in the summer has to be better than Mikel. Like it has to be. There's no two ways about it. Now, Ollie Watkins, Westhamonline, I like the player, but I think the fee's too much. It's been reported like £50 million for him. Not for me. I'd rather go and pay 40 million or 50 million for Ivan Toney, if I'm honest. Because I do like Tony, and you know this, mate. I've done shows and podcasts and all that, and the man I keep mentioning every single time is Tony. Like he's the one that I've said that is literally a replica of Antonio. His attitude's a bit not right, but you can't have it all. Do you know what I'm saying? What else what do you think could happen in the summer in regards of strikers?
Well, yeah, I first of all, I think with that fee for Watkins, 50 million would be a really bad deal. He's 26. yes, I think he'd do well for us. I think he'd suit our system. But 50 million, there's a lot
How
better
much would
options.
you? How much would you stretch to?
I'd match their. Well, I'd only go as high as what Villa paid 2 years ago. 35 million is what I'd pay, and any more, I think there's better options out there personally.
Mm, mm. Uh, so, if you was to sort of give me a few suggestions of strikers that you would like to see.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. Obviously, Eddie, I'm a huge fan of.
Mm,
Nunes, I've been interested in a while, but I actually think his overall game
mm,
um, is a bit suspect. His passing is dreadful. It's worse than Antonio's. So I'm not sure how, considering we struggle keeping the ball at times anyway, I'm not sure how well he'd suit us for the fee quoted. But I think
yeah.
Tony, Nketiah, and maybe I like Jonathan David. I'm not sure how good he is physically for what we need. I've not watched enough of him, but I do like
Mm,
the idea of Jonathan David, and I think he's very, very skillful. He's 2-footed and he stretches play. So I think Jonathan David's got to be a good option as well. But I will say, I think the striker market in the last year or two has been horrendous to what it's been in the previous 10 years ago, let's say. I really think the standard of strikers in world football at the moment is lower than it's been for a while.
but I remember you coming on this channel a few weeks ago. Funny enough,
Yeah,
and we discussed something about strikers, and you said to me, you said, James, you said there's a lot of wingers that are turning into strikers.
yeah,
Like, I know this is might be mad, and my chat might go berserk, but could you see Bowen going up front next season and bringing wingers in around him to support him? Because for me, Bowen is a natural striker. Really, he was an inside
yeah,
forward at Hull. Um, is it his right position? No, don't get me wrong. I totally get it. Listen, Bowen's been amazing on that right, but we need a striker in our team. And if West Ham was to go out and sign Keane, Lewis Potter, and Brennan Johnson, I know that we've got two good wide men there who are proper wide men. Like literally, they can play that 4-2-3-1 system all day long. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, I do think maybe keep Bowen on the right because I like what he does when he comes inside and allows Soufal to hold the width.
Mm,
I do like that, but I don't necessarily think the striker has to be the primary source of goals. I think Bowen, no matter what, will probably have the most goals for us next season or the second most because, as you say, he pretty
yeah,
much does play up front half the time. Um,
he does, mate. He plays as a two.
yeah,
How many times this
yeah.
season have we seen Antonio and Bowen together as a two? Really?
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He comes inside, he comes in the box. That's why he gets so many chances.
Mm,
So I think him coming inside and David maybe playing sort of as the creative player who can bring others into play whilst also getting goals himself. I think maybe
mm,
that could be a shout rather than people going, "Oh, we need a striker to score 28 goals." Maybe not. Maybe we'll just get a striker who can score a decent amount, 15 odd, but can also help bring others into play like Jared Bowen, like
yeah.
Saeed Benrahma, and allow Bowen to come inside with him.
Let me throw a name up for you. Because now I'm just running through in my head strikers or semi-strikers sort of thing. If Marcus Rashford was to come up at Manchester United, and let's be honest, he ain't going to be short of suitors. Is it a possibility that West Ham could try and go for him? Especially if Lingard signs. If Lingard signs, he's got the pull then to say, Rashford, come here. Would you have Rashford at
Yeah.
West Ham? I would have Rashford
Oh
in a
yeah, I'd
heartbeat.
have him. Yeah, I think Moyes would give him the confidence to play how he can play, and I think he'd have a lot less pressure than the toxicity that surrounds
Mm,
Manchester United Football Club. I think every player in that dressing room, to be honest, is a disgrace in Man United, and that
yeah.
is the one thing that I would look at because I've heard that players like Rashford, Dean Henderson, people like that have been leaking like information to the press. The dressing room's a nightmare, like what Lingard said to Paul Scholes. So
Mm,
I do think there is a place for Rashford, but he's got to put a stop to all this off the pitch drama that's going on. I really do think Man United's dressing room is a disgrace as a whole, and I don't think it's probably been any lower in morale than it ever has been now.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. See, there's other players that I'm thinking off the top of my head that like haven't really had a good season. Like Calvin Lewin, would you look at him as a striker as an option? For me, I do like Calvin Lewin, but he just when he don't score, he don't score for ages, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think he doesn't score. I agree with what you said there, and he seems to be going down the Dele Alli route a bit too much. Enough of these pictures in the magazines. Don't get me wrong. Express
mm,
yourself off the pitch. Do what you want. But he just seems to care more about what's going on off the pitch than on it. He's posting loads of Instagram pictures with Dele Alli in these clothes going out. Like,
yeah.
focus on the football. You've been injured all season. If you want to get back in the England squad, you're going to have to start scoring some goals because there's players like Tammy Abraham, Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney who are going to come and claim your shirt.
Mm. That is very true, mate. It's very true. It'd be interesting to see how West Ham do go about it this summer in regards to the strikers. Because let's be honest, as we've discussed it on this channel and as on any other channel that I've been on with you, we've always said that we need a striker at this club, and West Ham seem to be very sceptical to go out and get a striker for some reason. It's like they're
Yeah,
scared. Since the Haller deal, they are scared to go out and pay big money for a striker in case it's a flop. Now, El Nesri has been linked with us. Nunes was linked with us. Like Zappa, I think it is Zappa from Atalanta was linked with us. West Ham need to get a striker in, and like it's important that we go and get a striker in. But will we? Like John just says there, what do you make of Diaz? For me, it's not for me. Ben Brenton and Diaz.
oh right, him. Yeah, yeah. I don't think he's the one, to be honest. I thought
Yeah.
it was a free transfer. I thought his contract was expiring this year, but people were telling me on my Instagram that it's next year, so we'd have to pay to get him.
Mm,
We're going in a positive direction. He just doesn't score enough goals to scream consistency for me. Like what I see with Eddie, where he's always in the positions. I've watched all of Ben's goals for Blackburn, and for me, all it says is how poor the Championships has been in quality this year. To be honest,
mm. See, another person that Scott mentions here is Broja.
yeah,
Now, it's an interesting one with Broja because ever since he scored against us, he hasn't really done a lot since. Do you know
no,
what I mean? Do you know what I mean? He scored against us in the FA Cup. He scored against us in the league at the LS. And this geezer hasn't done a lot since. The only thing I will say about Chelsea, they don't let people go unless they really are like sure to let them go. Like Conor Gallagher's been there for ages. Ruth and Loftus Cheek, who I wouldn't mind at West Ham's been there for ages. Broja, they want stupid money for him. I was reported 50 million for him, which it's a bit of a risk, isn't it? Let's be honest, for a player who's not proven
yeah.
really.
Oh yeah, 50 million's a joke. If he weren't at Chelsea's books, I'm not sure on this. I'm not sure whether it's 6 or 8, but he has either 6 or 8 Premier League goals this season.
Yeah.
That's for a striker. That is poor, isn't it?
Mm.
And
Yeah, it is
I
really.
know he's young. I know he's against us. Don't get me wrong. Against us, he tore us a new one. He looked brilliant, but
Mm.
it's about consistency. And if you can't do it on a consistent basis, like it's like Mikel. Sometimes Mikel plays against teams, and you think, Christ, this guy's good,
Mm.
and then he'll go and play the next 3 weeks and play like he's never played football before. So we've got to be aware of that. We can't take a punt on a player who's not got those instincts in front of goal. And for 50 million, Broja is it's just not the one for me.
I'm going to throw a curveball in there, Westhamonline, and I really am. Can you see West Ham not signing a striker and signing a few wingers, and Jared Bowen will be the backup striker next season?
I think we've. I really, really hope we don't do that, because I think at that point a few fans would absolutely be fuming, because it's been about 3 or 4 transfer windows
Yeah.
without signing one now. I think we do need a proper striker. As I say, not someone who scores loads and loads of goals, but at least someone who's played up front for the majority of his career. Not
Mm.
doing this thing where we keep putting a winger up front. I think it's time we get a striker and I think that probably would have gave us the edge in the Frankfurt game in the first leg. If we had a proper striker who could score goals, I
See,
think we could have beat Frankfurt.
I agree with that comment from Ian, yeah, which is absolutely bang on. That's the reason why I said it, Ian. Moyes will sign someone who plays across several front positions, which is true. But there's no way. I don't think Moyes is just going to go out and get. That's why I don't think they're going to go for an Ivan Toney. Like for me, Ivan Toney's a no-brainer for me. Like if West Ham were serious, they'd go and drop Brentford 40 million and see what they've got to say. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel that if Keane Lewis Potter was to come in, just so argument's sake, Jesse Lingard was to arrive, that's two players who's like an attacking. Like one's left-sided in Keane Lewis Potter, who I do highly rate. I must admit, I've said on this channel quite a lot about him. Jesse, are you going to get the Jesse Lingard from a year ago? That's the $1 million question. If he does decide to play for West Ham, is there other players out there whose contracts are running down who we could sign who we don't even know about? But whatever happens, it has to be right, though, don't it, West Ham?
Online. Yeah, I do. I do see what you're saying. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if we got a load of players who could play anywhere across the front line. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think at least we need a player who can play striker. Definitely has proven that he can play striker, but can also play wide forward. Like, for argument's sake, obviously not someone of this quality, but someone like Firmino, Salah. You know what I mean? Not somebody like Keane Lewis Potter. I want to sign Keane Lewis Potter, but not to play him up front. I don't think Keane Lewis Potter is somebody who can play up front. I don't think he has the physical attributes. I don't think he has the goal scoring instincts. He should be played out wide, and we should get somebody like an Eddie Nketiah, an Ivan Toney.
I'll tell you who I'm going to name. Yeah, that Ian has just brought up, and he just reminded me. Is Divock Origi. Where, like, for me, he's a no-brainer. He's Premier League proven. He knows where the goal is. He's athletic. He's good in the air. That to me is like the type of player that West Ham need to go for an upgrade.
Yeah.
Like someone younger than Antonio, who plays a bit like Antonio, and who knows where the goal is basically.
Yeah, I would take Origi. I think he's got good goal scoring instincts like Eddie, but I just don't get. I really don't get it why he's got 0 starts in the Premier League this season, because I don't think that Diogo Jota, as good as he's been this season, is a much better footballer than Divock Origi. I just don't think he is. I'm really confused why Divock never gets a game. I really don't get it.
Is he comfortable though? Because that's the thing. I think me and you done a show ages ago, and the stats come out. I think he's only played something like 40 times from the start, or something like that. It's very, very low. Like in his career at Liverpool, it's not even that. I don't even think. Right. For me, I feel he's comfortable at Liverpool. Yeah, and he doesn't want to be the big man sort of thing to come forward. For me, he's a no-brainer for me.
That I've heard before Klopp say in an interview, and I think Milner or Lovren said it as well. Divock's the most relaxed guy ever. Like before the Champions League final, he was laughing, joking. Yeah, I think he could probably be told that he's playing in the Champions League final tomorrow, and that he's gonna. But it was shown in that Barcelona game, wasn't it? The pressure was on for Liverpool, 3-0 down. Divock Origi scores 2 goals. He looks like he's just come from the pub. He was relaxed as possible, gets the job done. Suddenly, one of the best comebacks in footballing history has occurred. And I think Divock just has that in his genes that he's so relaxed. And I'd definitely take him.
I agree. Ian says, what about Martial? Anthony Martial, Man United.
Well, I'd take him as a wide forward, but at the same time, he has been a bit unimpressive this year again. It's another one of the Man United lads, isn't it? I know he's at Sevilla now, but he's just... I'm starting to get to the point where I just don't want to talk about Man United players.
I'm going to throw you a name now, El Nesri at Sevilla.
I think there's a lot better options. I watched him against us, and he was good in the air, but he's on the
Mm.
floor all game. He can't run. He just looked like Haller, to be honest.
See, the other person from that side of the fence on the Seville side is El Campos. I think his name is
Yeah,
Lucas El Campos. I think his name
Campos,
is
yeah, Lucas
right.
Campos, yeah.
He's I like him, left-sided winger. But this is the theme that we got on this show today. Like me and you have named about 3, 4 strikers, and the rest of them are wingers. Like we
Yeah,
can't, and the striker front is dying a death, really, isn't it? It's more
yeah.
inside forwards now. West Ham have to really find like Scott says there, Jesus at Man City. I just can't see it. I think he's Arsenal bound myself.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
he's
go.
so good, though, isn't he, Jesus?
Yeah, like he's a sort of player that he'll go to Arsenal and hook up with Arteta again. Um, I think we've gone through everyone, haven't we, mate? Like, there's no one really else who we
Yeah,
can really think of. Like
nah,
from the bottom three, you wouldn't like people have said about Emmanuel Dennis. For me, he's just not good enough. I'm afraid.
yeah,
I mean, people, someone says Suarez. It's too old,
too
mate.
old.
It's too
Yeah.
old. Like the Premier League's fast flowing football, and we need someone who's younger. Do you know what I mean? What do you think of Dennis, or even Sarr for that matter, at Watford?
Well, Saar I'd actually take as a wide player. I think he's really good. I think he
Yeah,
struggled with injuries this year, but I think he's definitely Watford's best player. Although the stats don't show that this season, he's been injured. But in previous years, he's brilliant. He's won the AFCON. Watford fans adore him, and that tells you if Watford fans are saying he's their best player, he's probably going to be their best player.
yeah,
And Dennis, yeah, I think he's overperformed what he is this year. I think his
right.
stats, his goals, they're an overperformance of what he actually is as a footballer. I think he's a talented player, but I
Mm.
think he's had attitude problems himself in the past. I remember at Bruges, he was in the squad for a Champions League match and he had attitude problems on the bus or something. He couldn't play in the end. So I think stay clear of him for a price of 20 million, especially. I think we just need to find the better options. We hear
Yeah.
about Divering Dave, but I think we do need to give him some time to realise who is the best striker for us to get.
Yeah,
Because
but
I'm looking at,
how much time does he need with Westhamonline? Fuck me,
yeah,
he's had a year.
no. I mean, in terms of weighing up the targets he's got, I just
Yeah,
don't want us to take a punt on Dennis, for example, like you say, and
yeah.
suddenly we realise that he isn't the guy that we need.
See, John brings up a good comment now. Got a few good comments here. Yeah, he says long shot Patrick Bamford. Now, I was going to come to Leeds as the next team. Obviously, they're looking at West Ham are looking at Phillips, looking at Rafinha. Now, Rafinha for me on that left hand side would be beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Benny, but I think Rafinha's a much better player. Um, but if you was to say like Rafinha at West Ham as like a basically against another winger, isn't it? It's just not a striker.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But I must admit, I do like Bamford. I do. I think Bamford in a better team could do some damage.
yeah, I agree.
Probably,
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant last year.
but the problem is with Bamford, his injuries, isn't it? Let's be
Yeah,
honest. Do you know what I mean? He's like Anthony says here, yeah, about the player there, but I think he's on the way to Dortmund, mate. Like, I'm sure he's on the way to Dortmund.
no,
Dortmund,
no. The guy on the way to Dortmund is Adeyemi from
yeah.
Salzburg. But that guy, 13 goals in the Bundesliga. Nah, not for me.
Is there anyone abroad that you think, mate? Really, off the top of your head, is there anyone that you think, you know what, West Ham? I think the French league is key because I think the
Yeah,
French league's fallen apart. And if it was me and I had someone said to me, pick a player, James, that you want abroad, it's Jonathan David for me. Yeah,
yeah,
I do like that kid. Listen, Canada have done amazingly well. They've qualified for the World Cup, and he's part of that. Like he's with that Alfonso Davis and the other striker who plays in Besiktas. I can't think of his name. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I'd take him. Yeah, I would
yeah,
take David. I think David, and I think another one who really impressed me at the Euros, and I think you've got to take the Bundesliga with a real pinch of salt because I think it's a poor
Mm,
league. But in the Euros, he's impressed me. And as I say, he's got 35 plus goals this year in the Bundesliga. So take it with a pinch of salt. But those are very good stats. And that's Patrick Schick.
yeah,
Schick,
I see the goal he scored last night. Funny enough, I was watching the Bundesliga highlights. It was just on Sky,
really?
and he
Yeah.
scored a great goal against the team. And I I like him. I think he's perfect for West Ham. Definitely the way he plays. But it's just another one. I just don't think we can get him. I just don't
Yeah,
think. I think
he said before, I think he came
mm,
out with a quote before as well that he didn't want to come to us or something. So,
that's the
mm,
player that I was thinking of. The other Canadian striker who's tearing it up in the Besiktas. I must admit, like everyone.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Ian says, get it done early, David or Tony. Oh, that's a good question, mate. If I was to pick a choose out of them two, do you know what? If I had a choice, and I know I just said about David, but I can't not say I haven't Tony, mate.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
really,
Yeah.
really, I really, really can't. I just think he's just everything West Ham want. Like they want someone to hold the ball up. And I never forget the game this season at the LS when West Ham played Brentford, and he just ripped us a new one. Like went for our defence. And what it was, he wasn't great, but his passing skills were like peach perfect. Like weight of pass was good. He's good, mate. He's good, and he's come from
Tony is
alone.
quality. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you know what I'm
think the only
saying?
thing is people will say David's definitely the bigger name, and I think that's what people get caught up on. But it's up to Moyes. Does he want to go with Tony, who's good in every facet of play, or does he
Mm,
want to go with David, who, although struggles at times physically, is a
yeah.
skillful player, can probably play out wide. He's
Mm,
two-footed, which I think being two-footed is one of the best things you can find in a forward player. We've seen
yeah.
it with Son; it works wonders. So I think Tony is. I think you know what you're going to get with Tony, and I don't think he's going to exceed the level he's at now too much. I just think that he can show his level in a better team, if that makes sense. Like I think he's
Mm,
at a brilliant level now, but I think Brentford restricts him a little bit,
yeah.
especially pre Ericsson. I think in a better team he would explode. And yeah, David, I can't say I've watched a total lot of him. I watched him against Chelsea and he was poor, to be honest. But
Mm,
that two-footed attribute that he has, the pace, the directness, the fact that he can come inside or go outside, I don't think you can underestimate that.
I agree. I agree. Before we go, because I'm going to wrap it up shortly, I know it's going to sound mad what I'm about to say, but can you actually see West Ham signing a striker this summer? Because
Yeah,
it's like, for who we've just named off, yeah, unless there was someone that we had not sort of thought about, you've said to me, I make you 100% right. There's not a lot of good strikers out there, like someone who can
yeah.
be better than Mikel Antonio. So, is it a possibility that West Ham will not go for a striker and just go for a load of wide men and be like what Ian said in the chat earlier on about like, a Liverpool type, just wingers everywhere?
I think we'd definitely go for a striker, but I don't think Moyes is one to panic and go for any striker. I think he'll have a short list of about 5 or 6. If he doesn't get any of them,
Mm,
unfortunately, he will be going for a wide player.
mm. Is that right though? West Ham Online though, is that the right like because it's not so much Moyes, it's Rob Newman that I don't know what he's doing because
Yeah,
Newman's been in the job since January, I believe, right? Because he had gardening leave, didn't he, for City? Now he must have been looking at players. Obviously, they did look at Diaz, which is a massive fuck up from West Ham. Really, they should have got that done. Because Luis Diaz is probably one of the best January signings I've ever seen.
oh, he's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, for what he brings to Liverpool's team, he's excellent. But can you really see that like West Ham going with literally no one? Like because Yarmolenko isn't really a striker; he's a left-sided winger, really. If we're being honest, um, so if they were to replace Yarmolenko with another left-sided winger, technically West Ham will be going with, with what they've got from last season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think we will go for a strike, and I think Rob Newman. I mean, he must have found some targets in 6 months, and that must
Mm.
be the priority. That and a defensive midfielder. Um, so I think we will go for a striker, as I say, but I don't think that the shortlist is going to be extensive. One, because Moyes likes a certain type of player, and if he doesn't get that type, he just won't bother. And
Yeah.
two, because the types of strikers in world football right now, as I said earlier, is probably at a lower quality than it's been in a long, long while.
Mm. I agree. I agree. Before we go, I just want to ask you a few things about other areas of the pitch for West Ham. Obviously, the goalkeeper. I'm going to start off with goalkeeper. I'll see people have a laugh about we need more goalkeepers on the bench. Um, does Ariana sign for you, mate? In all honesty.
Yeah, I think he will. I think we'd be quite stupid to pass up on an 11 million deal for Ariola. I think he's shown that he's worth it.
Yeah.
The one area of criticism for him at times is his kicking, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than Fab's, but will Moyes look at that and think he can't become a top class goalkeeper because of that? I'm not sure, but I think he's done more than enough, and I think we really need to move on from Fab. And Sunday was another reminder of that. Dropping that corner was
Yeah.
horrendous, really, and he's doing it too regularly for me now. The Chelsea Craig Dawson red card, really unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with me on this one, but I feel that if he was off his line a bit quicker, Craig wouldn't have had to make that challenge. And he's made a lot of mistakes this year.
Even the Arsenal game, mate. Even the Arsenal game
Oh yeah,
when he knees it into his own goal. That's just
oh yeah.
yeah.
It's
Do you
just
know
not
what I
good enough. And I think 5, 10 years ago, old keepers got away with it because all they had to be was a shot stopper, and that was it. In
mean?
today's game, no, you have to almost be another outfield player at times. You have to be off your line quick. You have to be able
Yeah.
to spot a pass, and you have to be able to catch the ball and distribute it quickly. And unfortunately, Fabianski catches it, takes a decade to find an option, and then
Yeah.
kicks it off. So I love Fab for what he done for us. He's the best goalie I've seen play for West Ham. But yeah, his time's definitely passed.
You don't remember Ludo McCloskey or Robert Green, mate, but they were both. Rob Green was a decent goalkeeper. Ludo was fucking mental. But listen, I'm going to quickly run through it. Left back. Obviously, we need a left back. There's no two ways about
Yeah.
it. We need a covering left back. Is there anyone in your mind that you would like to see at West Ham? I will name my one straight away. The man is in Italy. The man is young. The man is Scottish. And the man is Adam Hickley, I think his name is. I like that kid. I think he's excellent. Any
Yeah.
left back for you, mate?
Yeah, I do like Aaron Hickey. I think Arsenal want him, and I think he'll probably go there, to be honest. But I do like Aaron Hickey. Kamara from Watford, I like. I think he's been excellent since coming in. Been the only shining light for Watford. Bar his red card, sorry, on the weekend, which was a bit stupid. But I thought it was great against us as well, and I thought it was great against Liverpool. And then there's that which I don't know how to say his name. Wijnal. I don't know how to say it. The Dutch left back. Um,
True.
uh, I'm not sure who he plays for even, but I've just seen people saying on Twitter about him, and I thought, I don't know who he is. I don't know whether I'd want him.
Mm.
But it's one to keep an eye on.
Here's a good shout. Sinchenko.
Yeah, top player. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
don't think we'll be able to get him because I think Guardiola knows just how good he is. And to be honest, I don't think he's that far off Cancelo. I think he's a top player, Zinchenko. At everything.
What about this man, Kukurea?
Yeah,
I think he's been one of Brighton's best players this year, mate.
yeah.
I think he's been excellent.
Oh yeah, I think we should have looked at him before we went to Brighton. I think they only got him for about 8 million, which was a steal.
Mm.
He's tremendous. He's really, really good. He was great on the weekend against Man United. I've heard
Mm.
him in interviews as well, and he's got a great character. I think, unfortunately, now though, it would probably take 35 million plus to prize him out of Brighton. He won
Yeah.
their Player of the Year last night as well, so that's going to add another 5 million onto his fee. So yeah, I think that one's gone. We should have taken up that opportunity a year ago. So should so many clubs, by the way. He's a top player, and I think more people should have seen it.
Would you go for, before I move on to the other positions, would you go for Max Aarons at Norwich? I like the kid. I know he plays for Norwich. I know Norwich are shocking, but he isn't. He's not too bad. But I think anyone would look shocking in that Norwich team at the minute. I think Ronaldo would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think of Max Aarons? I like Max Aarons. I do. I think he's a good player.
I can see why you think that, but I actually do disagree because the problem with Max, he got so much hype 2 years ago. People thought he was
Mm,
going to go Bayern Munich. He got a lot of hype, stayed at Norwich, and for me, he's not progressed physically one bit. He's still very, very weak. I
yeah.
don't think he's great offensively, and I don't think he's great defensively either. He's an okay passer, but for me, the height wasn't warranted. Basically, I think there's a lot better right backs in the Premier League. I could probably name you 6 better English right backs. And yeah, I think the
Yeah.
time has passed with Max. He should have probably left Norwich 2 years ago, if I'm honest, because all of his stocks have fallen.
Mm, yeah. Maybe you're right. Obviously, we've got a couple of other positions. Centre half is a major problem for us. Obviously, will Diop be there? Will he not be there? Is a question for everyone. For me, I think Diop will go. I think West Ham will be looking to try and bring in at least 2 centre halves. I think your Bonner one is a strange one for me. I know he's been a great servant to West Ham. Don't get me wrong; he's been amazing at Angelo Bonner. But can we really get this geezer back playing the same football that he played after that injury, Westhamonline?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether we can, and I don't think we will be able to. I think he'll be a little bit worse. I think he'll lose a bit of a yard of pace, and as a result, will probably regress as a defender. He's getting old as it is. He's played a lot of football. He's played football for us for 6, 7 years now. And he was at Juventus in Italy before. He's had a long career, a successful career, and I think he'll probably just be a backup now. I think we need to look at Edmund Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen. We've been linked with him. A very good player, good on the ball, physical, and I think he's the sort of player we should be looking at. Him or Evan and Dicker, who I was very, very impressed
Yeah, I've got to admit,
for
so
Frankfurt the other night. Yeah.
he was solid back his mate. I must admit. People are saying in the chat, Aki comes to mind. Nathan Aki at Man City. Another person says in the chat, would you go for Tarkowski on a free? Is it worth it on a free? For me, no pace. It's just no pace again, isn't it? West Ham Online.
Yeah.
We've got we've got a defender there. Like Nathan Ake's a good shout. I would like him. Nathan Ake and Zuma, they're ex Chelsea. They probably, I don't know whether they played together at Chelsea, but they would have been like in that sort of training together, so to speak. I do like Indica. I must admit, I thought he was absolutely first class. I think he richly dominated Antonio in that second leg. Really, I know he was down to 10 men. Don't get me wrong, but he did look good. I can't really think of anyone else really off the top of my head who's sort of a player West Ham could go in for, so to speak. Like, there's no one at any of the other clubs like who we could look at and say, could they go and do a job? The question is would you get rid of Diop knowing the Bonner situation at the minute?
Yeah, I think I'd hold with Diop probably till January. To be honest, I'm not his biggest fan, but overall, he's probably had more good games than he has bad this season. Thought it was shocking against Kidderminster and Brentford, but apart from that, to be honest, he's done quite well. And I think it's worth holding on to him for now because we don't know what state of Bonner's going to be in. Let's be honest, Zuma's injured all the time. And Dawson, we've got to remember, has been playing through pain on painkillers. So I wouldn't be surprised if, as soon as the season wraps up, he's got to have surgery of some sort. So I think that will be something to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And finally, the final position that I'm going to talk about is central midfield.
Yeah.
Noble goes, Crowell goes, Connor Coventry returns. Who's coming in the midfield, mate? Because we need at least 2 players.
I think Souček has had a poor season. To be fair to Mitchell, who is not Souček's biggest fan, and he seems to have been right this year. I think Souček. This is what I'm going to say, and I think it comes back to that Tarkowski thing as well. Souček was brilliant last season. Tarkowski's a good defender. Neither would be good in a possession-based team. We need to move past these sorts of signings. Don't get me wrong, keep Souček, he'd be good backup. But if we want to progress as a team, all the top teams are comfortable in possession. Even Atletico Madrid, who don't have the ball a lot, all their players are comfortable when they do get the ball.
Yeah.
We need to move on. We need to get somebody like Bissouma. Obviously, he's got off the pitch scandals going on. I'm not sure what's happening with them. Obviously, if they come back negative, we wouldn't go for him. But Bissouma on the pitch, if that's all clear, he's one who I'd be definitely going for. I think he's fantastic. Calvin Phillips, if Leeds go down, he's got a 25 million relegation release clause. I think that's an absolute steal. Unfortunately, I think.
Would he come to us though, Westhamonline? That's the question, right? Like, you got a man who lives in Leeds. Right, he's a Leeds boy. Just for argument's sake, I know it's a bit of a long shot, but just for argument's sake, Everton come in if they stay up, or for instance, a Man United even they're looking for a midfielder, 25 million. Could he go to Man United? It's a massive step up from Leeds. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are saying it in the chat, Ward-Prowse. Now, I think he's a decent player, but apart, you take the goals away from him in the free kicks and the set pieces. Is that all he is? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Firstly, on Phillips, I think he'd definitely choose us over Everton, because Everton are in a bit of a sorry state. They've had some positive days recently, and maybe Frank Lampard could convince him, but I think he'd be an idiot to go there. Man United, I just think he loves Leeds so much, and that rivalry, although historic, with Man United was so fierce and still is fierce for Leeds fans. And as I say, he loves Leeds, so I really don't think he'll go Man United. So I think at 25 million, any club should be going for him, but we just got to hope they don't, basically. And that we go in for him. And I think if no other suitors are found, he's too good to be playing in the Championship, especially if he wants to play for England. We need to go for him, and I think he'd be perfect for us, to be honest. Ward-Prowse, I agree with you. I think he's a good player, and that's it. I think bar his free kicks and corners, which are useful, but as I say, if you want to become a top club, you need to stop looking you need to look past things like that too much. I think he's a decent player, and I think that's where it ends with Ward-Prowse.
What about Tielemans at Leicester?
On the ball, fantastic. Off the ball, horrendous.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, I see something on Twitter the other day. I think someone put it up on Twitter about him running back, and it was like lackluster, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think
he is poor off the ball. His off the ball numbers are pathetic. He looks like he's running in quicksand, to be honest. That video of him chasing Rice was hilarious. But on the ball, don't get me wrong, when he gets the ball, he's fantastic. But I just think we're so hit and miss in possession. It would be too risky to go for someone who's that bad off the ball to play in our team.
What about there's a player that keeps getting mentioned from Liverpool, Naby Keita, Leipzig, I think he was before he came to Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to look to get rid of him in the summer. Would he be a good shout for West Ham, Keita?
Yeah, if we could get him, I'd definitely take him. I think he's a good midfielder, and he's energetic. He's box to box. He's good in big games. He's been fantastic in some big games, such as Man United this year. don't get me wrong, the price would be a worry considering Liverpool paid 55 million odd for him. So I'd be interested to see how much they're willing to cut their losses on that. And also the fact that he's injured all the time. So we need to look at them two things. I think there's probably better options, but I think as a footballer, he's tremendous.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think the midfield position is massive. In one way, I agree with you with Souček. Should Thomas be in next year? Yes, but he's got to improve rapidly. Like he's gone from 100 down to about 30 this season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like last season, he started off like a train. He's been here 2 years. Don't forget, he come here in 2020, January 2020,
yeah,
and it's now 2022. So he's been here over 2 years now, and he started off well, and then the full season he was amazing. This season he hasn't been so great, but we will see. Before I let you go, and final question of the show is: how many signings are we going to make Westhamonline?
I think we're going to sign Areola, which is one, a striker, which is two. I don't actually think we. I think we'll sign a midfielder, but not anyone decent. I don't think we'll sign a centre back, and I think we will sign a left back. So I think we'll sign four.
4 signings for West Ham United Football Club. For me, I think it's got to be a lot more than 4. If I'm honest, I think I'm looking at least 6. I think
Yeah.
we need a left. I think we need a left back. I think the goalkeeper needs to be sorted out. I do think we need a centre half because you've got a lot of injuries in that back line, and I do think we need a centre half. I think we need 2 central midfielders because we're going to lose Noble, we're going to lose Krau. Lanzini could possibly go, like if he wants to go back to Argentina. So we're going to need at least 2 midfielders. I think we need a left-sided winger and we need a striker. So whatever that is, I think that's even 7 that I've named there. But it will be interesting. Anyway, that's enough from us. Westhamonline, thank you for coming on today, mate. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
No,
Yeah, it was a great show.
no worries at all, mate. Anyway, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way. It really helps me out greatly. Getting the numbers up slowly but surely. This is a positive show, right? This is talking about strikers, and you know what I mean, people want to know about strikers and what we're going to get. Is it Eddie or is it Ollie? Who knows? If Eddie comes in, I think it's a cheap and cheerful sign from West Ham. But if he performs, then all will be forgiven. If it's Ollie Watkins, I think it's a good signing. I really, really do. But we will see. Anyway, Tuesday, enjoy it. Liverpool Villa tonight. Take care and goodbye.